Hello and welcome back to another episode of Sexology Podcast. I am so excited and honored to welcome Dr. Rachel Needle to our show. Dr. Rachel, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you are a return guest, so we loved all of the previous conversations we had together. And today we're going to talk about something that we haven't addressed in this particular way. We had the whole season on erectile dysfunction, but what we're going to talk about is for couples that they are in a heterosexual kind of like a relationship. I get one of the questions often is that the female partner, they're kind of anxious about like if their partner have erectile unpredictability or they have erectile dysfunction and they don't know how to approach it. So like from your clients, from the experiences that you had, how do you think like the partner's erectile unpredictability and challenge can impact their female partner if they're in a heterosexual relationship?
And that's a great question. And it can absolutely impact a partner in a number of different ways, right? So we know that it can have adverse effects on a female partner's sexual experience. So we know that it might be harder for them to become aroused, might be harder for them to enjoy continuous sexual pleasure and even have an orgasm. So research has found those things. It can also lead to issues with self-confidence and questioning. One of the things I kind of tell people is, at times the response is sometimes automatic when you're not really prepared for it. You don't really know what's gonna come up in you. So I tell people to kind of take a deep breath and definitely don't freak out in the moment. Don't act disappointed. Don't laugh. Don't sigh. Don't be mean. And in the same respect, don't blame yourself. Right? Most likely, and in more times than not, most of the time, this has nothing to do with you. But it can be very hard not to take it personally.
Absolutely. And I've certainly seen the same thing that this kind of like sometimes people see it as a confirmation that they're no longer attractive or they don't have the sexual skills and they get at times sad. And as you mentioned, the moment defensive, and they might then we're at that place of kind of like a level of stress. We might say something that might not be as relational or tactful as we want. But I also see that it can long term impact the quality of experience. So when I work with couples, sometimes the male partners that like once because of my erectile challenge because I was drinking, I wasn't able to kind of like have intercourse, and now we are as a couple kind of scared of having sex because we don't want to have the same experiences. I love that you mentioned that it's most likely it has nothing to do with you. That's been my experience. That could be someone's hormone, what like the side effects of the medication, the stress level, all sorts of things. But if we are kind of seeing it as we are lacking on certain things, that can add another relational aspect to it. So it can be definitely for some people cause some stress and frustration. And I have clients that I'm sure you do that. They say, oh, okay, it just didn't happen. Let's move on with that. But I think what how we approach it and what's the story we're telling ourselves are very important as women. Well, what if the issue is the partner? Like if we tell our partner and the attraction is an issue, is that the case at times?
Absolutely. There are times people change, their tastes change. Sometimes we're not attracted to the person. And that's a conversation as well, and a very, very delicate one. So listen, attraction can change, especially at the beginning. I tell people when they're like, well, I don't think it's a good fit, I'm not attracted. It's like, give it some time, right? Like once, other things grow in the relationship and it can lead to that physical attraction. I do believe that if after a year you're not attracted, then maybe that's not going to happen in that way. But it can also be that factors in the relationship change, and so does attraction. I think that you really have to make a conscious effort to both understand that and work towards finding that attraction or something that is attractive within that person again, if that's something you both want.
I agree with you. I think when I think about attraction, sometimes people feel like the partner is not attracted to me, but sometimes the challenge might be that they're no longer interested in this particular activity that you're doing. So that
Yeah.
requires some conversation, maybe going to sex therapy or exploring things together to see, okay, what is my erotic template now? What is it that's going to be something that makes me excited? But I know, as we talked about at the beginning of the episode, it's my experience that most of the time for couples, it's more about kind of like some physiological challenge, psychological challenge that's not necessarily related to the attraction to the partner. Even
Right.
relational challenge, when people feel humiliated, not heard, not seen in the relationship, that also can be the reason.
Yeah, and even when it comes out as an attraction issue, a lot of times that's not the only factor, right? That's the one they want to pin it on and blame it on, so that we don't have to do this work and understand ourselves and look at these other things that could be playing a role. It's a lot easier to say, this person's gained weight, I'm not attracted, than, I'm drinking 20 beers a day.
I've certainly seen that. You're right.